The swimming coach was supposed to fix my posture. Instead, he kissed me underwater. His hands were on my waist before I even saw him coming. Cold, steady, underwater. I jerked, startled, but he held me firm, like I was something slippery that might get away. "Relax," he said from behind me, his voice low, calm, dangerous in how normal it sounded. I didn't know what to do. My heart was thudding like I'd been caught doing something wrong. Except I hadn't done anything. Yet, I was just trying to swim, trying to fit in on a team that didn't want me, trying not to mess up. But Coach Matthew, tall, unreadable, mid-30s ex-Olympic-looking god, had offered me early morning one-on-one sessions. And I said yes. So here we are, just us, pool lights flickering, sky still dark, the water too quiet. "Your strokes are messy," he said. "Your spine's too tense." Then his hand slid up my back, under the water, slow, fingers tracing my spine, pressing gently at the curve of it. "You won't float unless you loosen up. Breathe." But he was close. Too close. When he touched my stomach, just above the waistband of my trunks, I swear my brain blanked out. "Hold your breath," he murmured. "We're going under." So we did. The world shifted, blue and weightless. He tilted my chin up underwater. His thumb brushed the edge of my mouth, and then he kissed me. Soft, full, lips over mine, open, lingering, like we had all the time in the world, like he'd been waiting to do it. I didn't kiss back. I didn't pull away either. I just froze. But I felt everything. His mouth, his tongue, the burning in my lungs, the ache in my chest. When we surfaced, I was gasping for air. Sure, but mostly for answers. I didn't say a word, just swam off like nothing happened. And I sat there dripping, dazed, heart pounding in my throat, asking myself, should I tell someone? Was he taking advantage? But the truth? The raw, messy, dangerous truth. I liked it. And somehow that feels worse. Flashback 6 weeks ago. I joined the team late, mid-season, mid-semester, mid-everything. Everyone already had their sports, their rhythm, their inside jokes. I was just the awkward new guy with stiff backstrokes and no social skills. The coach said I had potential, that my form was trash but my stamina was solid, that I had drive. I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a warning. I've only been on the team for 6 weeks, still learning the routines, still trying to earn a real lane during practice, still keeping my head down. But when Coach Matthew pulled me aside after warm-ups last week and said, "Come in early, I'll help you clean up your technique," I didn't hesitate. Of course I said yes. Everyone talked about him like he's a legend, like he was the golden boy back in the day. National records, magazine covers, full ride scholarship. Then he dropped off the map for a few years. No one knows why. No one asks. Now he's here, back, teaching us. He's intense, quiet, doesn't yell, doesn't praise, doesn't joke, just watches you until you start fixing yourself out of sheer discomfort. And he watches me a lot. At first I thought it was because I sucked, because I was new, tense, full of mistakes, not good enough to be here. But now, I don't know. There's something about him. He's not hot in the obvious way. He's not flirty or flashy, or built like some gym rat trying to get attention. He's just still sharp, serious, like he's always thinking something he'd never say out loud. It got to me quietly. The way his back hair never seems wet, even when it is. The way his eyes flicker over you like they already know how you move before you move. The way he stands at the edge of the pool, arms folded, jaw tight, and he looks like he belongs in the water, more than we ever will. It's not like I meant to find him attractive. It just happened, somewhere between the silence and the way he said my name like a challenge. Now, I can't tell you if he was watching me because I need help, or because he wants something he isn't allowed to have. And worse, I think I wanted too. Flashback ends. 2 days later, I told myself it was nothing. Just a weird moment, a slip, a coaching accident. Maybe the water was quiet, our heads were underwater, and he, Coach, just got too close. That's what I said in my head, over and over. But the second his hands landed on my waist again, I knew I was full of shit. We were halfway through laps when he stopped me. One quick whistle, I surfaced gasping, wiping my eyes. "Your turns are still too wide," he said. "You're bleeding time." I expected a pointer, a correction from the edge of the pool. Instead, he stepped in. The water rippled around him, dark and smooth, and he was behind me. Close. Too close. "Don't move," he said quietly. His hand found my hip again, right on the bone. His fingers curved in like he was memorizing the shape of me. I stiffened. He didn't flinch. "Relax," he murmured. "Let me guide you." Then his other hand slid across my lower back. Slow, deliberate, and I swear to God, I forgot how to breathe. It wasn't groping. It didn't feel like that. It felt controlled, intentional, like he knew exactly what he was doing. Like he wanted me to feel it, but not enough to be able to call it anything. "Here," he said, pressing into the curve of my spine. "You're locking up. That's what's throwing off your rotation." I nodded, even though my brain was somewhere else. Caught between panic and heat. And what the hell is happening? His fingers skimmed my side when he pulled me away, barely a graze. But my skin burned there long after. He swam off like nothing happened, and I stood frozen in the lane, the water suddenly feeling too warm, too tight around my chest. This wasn't just a kiss anymore. This was a pattern, and the worst part. And I didn't want it to stop. 3 days later, Coach told me today's session would be all about form. Symmetry, he said. Body alignment. Details that separate good swimmers from elite ones. I tried not to read into it, tried not to hope for anything. But when I walked in, it was just us. The pool lights were still waking up, casting long silver streaks over the water. He didn't say much, just told me to float. Face up, arms to the side. Let your body show me where it's uneven. I slid into the water, heart already racing. I floated, and then I felt him. His hands landed gently on my chest. Flat, palms first, right above my heart. I flinched just a little, but he didn't move. Don't tense, he said softly. Just let it happen. His thumb began to trace slow circles under my collarbone, almost like he was testing how my ribs expand, like he needed to feel it to correct it. I held my breath, not because he asked, but because I was scared to make a sound. You're sinking on the right, he murmured. That means you're folding inward. Chest needs to stay open. His hands moved downward, over the middle of my chest, skimming my stomach, barely touching my skin, but somehow setting it on fire. He didn't linger, didn't grope, but it was still more, and I didn't stop him. I didn't even want to. He held me up right after, one hand steady on my shoulder, the other on my waist again. My skin buzzed under his grip. You're learning, he said, voice low just for me. I turned my head, looked right at him. He didn't look guilty. He looked hungry. And so did I. A few days later, breath control. That's what today was supposed to be about. 30 seconds under, he said. Don't panic. Just trust the quiet. I nodded, sank into the pool, tried to focus on the sound of my heart beating. 10 seconds in, I felt him slide under the water beside me. Not touching. Not yet, but close. Too close. Then his fingers brushed under my chin, lifted it. I opened my eyes. Coach was staring back at me. Black eyes, locked onto mine. Calm, careful. And for the first time, he didn't move. He waited. He let me choose. I could have turned, could have surfaced, could have swum away. Instead, I opened my mouth just a little. That's all it took. He moved forward, slow like a current pulling me under. His lips brushed mine, then pressed, then parted them. It was deeper this time, softer, less of a mistake, more of a secret we were both finally ready to keep. I reached out. My hand found his shoulder, clutched it. I kissed him back, right there in the water, where everything was slow and blue and hidden. When we surfaced, I didn't gasp for air. I gasped because I needed him. He looked at me, unreadable, but still close, still watching me, like I was something worth holding on to. You felt that too, right? I whispered. He nodded. Just once. And it was the most honest thing either of us had said. A week later, I was tanking on purpose. Not in an obvious way, not enough to raise flags. Just letting myself drag on turns. Letting my legs lose momentum during kicks. Forgetting the little things coach drilled into us like gospel. Head down, shoulders round, smooth breathing. I knew better. God, I knew better. But when I messed up, he stayed. When I messed up, he got in the water. And when he got in the water, I forgot how to breathe anyway. That morning, the others had already hit the showers. The pool echoed with chlorine and fluorescent buzzing. House shadows smudging across the tiles. I was still in lane 2, flutter kicking like I've never done it before. Deliberately clumsy. Deliberately pitiful. He noticed. Of course he did. You're not new, Sebastian, Coach Matthews said from his desk, arms folded, eyes fixed on my legs. What's going on with you? I shrugged, keeping my face in the water. Tired? No. You're distracted. I kicked harder, splashed like a rookie, waited for him. And then I heard it, the quiet shuffle of him stepping down into the pool. Water lapped behind me. My stomach knotted. Come here. I turned, drifting towards him. His hands strong, steady, closed around my waist. Moved me. Your hips are off balance, he murmured, adjusting me from behind. You're losing thrust on your right side. Feel that? I didn't respond. I couldn't. My breath was stuck somewhere in my throat. Because his voice was low and close. His chest brushed my back, and the water was warm, but his touch was warmer. Again, he said, stepping away. But when I pushed off, I flailed, completely collapsed. On purpose. Because I needed him to stay. Because I needed that feeling again. That little electric pulse that came from being seen by him. Corrected by him. Touched by him. He called it off early. I didn't offer a follow-up. Didn't even look back when he left. And stood there in the shallow end, chest heaving, adrenaline shaking through my bones. Not from the swim, but from the quiet knowledge blooming inside me. I didn't care about improving anymore. I cared about him. And I was spiraling fast. A few weeks later, the counselor's office was quiet. Too quiet. A place that felt allergic to noise. There was a paperweight shaped like a turtle on her desk. I stared at it. Thanks for coming in, Sebastian. She smiled like this was a dentist appointment. Routine, clean. I just wanted to ask you a few things, just to make sure you're okay. I nodded. My palms were sweating against my knees. It's about your coach. I looked up, met her eyes, didn't blink. She shifted paper on a clipboard. More for show than necessary. There's been a concern. Someone reported that you and Coach Matthews spent an unusual amount of time alone after practice during early mornings. I said nothing. Because what could I say? That I wanted those mornings? That I craved them? We have to ask these things when there's a possible boundary issue, she said gently. It's just protocol. I kept my face blank, my stomach twisted. Has your coach, she asked slowly, ever touched you in a way that made you feel uncomfortable? Time froze, and my head was full of heat. He had touched me. The first time it was an adjustment, his palms on my lower back, correcting my spine. Then again on my hip. Then his fingertips ghosted across my ribs underwater when he showed me how to breathe differently. And then, that one night, just once, when he stayed too long, and I said something stupid like, I don't get why you care so much. And he said, because I can't help it. And then, he kissed me. Underwater, brief, breathless, like he didn't plan to, like he couldn't stop it. I felt unseen. I felt wanted. I felt like my chest cracked open, and someone finally looked inside. Uncomfortable? No. It was the only time in my life I'd felt real. I swallowed hard and met her gaze. No, I said. Never. She nodded, wrote something down. Okay, thank you. I stood to leave, but as I walked out, everything felt heavy. My lungs, my arms, my legs. Not because I lied, but because I didn't know what was true anymore. What is inappropriate when every kiss felt like coming home, where the lines between wrong and right was already blurred with chlorine and want? The next morning I showed up early, like always. Pool lights off, sun barely rising. The water lay still like a mirror, waiting for someone to break it. But Coach wasn't there. I sat on the bleachers, staring at my reflection in the dark water, heart pounding in my ribs like it was trying to warn me. 5 minutes passed, 10, then I heard the door open. He walked in slow, hoodie on, no clipboard, no whistle, just him, and already I could feel something was wrong. "You're not swimming today," he said. I stood. "Why?" "Because this..." His jaw tightened. "This has to stop." His words hit like concrete. "Stop training?" I asked, voice too small. "Stop everything. The extra sessions, the time alone, all of it." My throat tightened. "Because of school?" He didn't answer. "Because someone got jealous and ran their mouth?" "That's why you're cutting me off." He stepped closer, his voice low, steady. "Because they're watching now." I hated that claim in his voice. Hated how clean he made it sound. Like this was the logical decision, just a smart adult thing to do. "So that's it?" I choked. "It meant nothing to you?" He blinked, and that's when it cracked. The facade. He stepped forward fast, hands almost reaching for me, then stopping himself, clenching them at his side, like he wanted to touch me, but he wouldn't risk it now. "It meant too much," he said. And hell, that was worse than nothing. Because too much meant he felt it too. All of it. The tension, the pull, the heat underwater, the way he lingered too long in silence. The kiss. The kiss! I would have kept it a secret, I said quietly. I wouldn't have told anyone. I would have protected you. His voice cracked. "You already did." My chest heaved. I looked at him, waiting for a sign, something, anything. A touch, a word, a whisper. But he just turned, walked away, and I let him. Because I knew if I had chased him, I'd never stop. So I didn't spiral. I trained, harder, faster, like the water was war and I was trying to drown in the ache in my lungs. I stopped dragging, I stopped faking, and I started winning. A month later, the cheers were still ringing in my ears. People hugged me, cameras flashed. Teammates clapped me on the back so hard it hurt. Coach stood on the sideline, unreadable, arms crossed. But I saw it. The way his jaw clenched when I hit the wall first. The way his eyes locked on mine as I surfaced. Gold medal shining like a wound around my neck. I won. I freaking won! But it didn't feel like a victory. Not until I was alone again in the locker room. The fluorescent lights hummed above me. I sat on the bench in my towel, staring at my fingers. Raw. Red. Shaking slightly. I heard the door open behind me. I didn't run. Didn't need to. I knew. He stood behind me in silence. Long, heavy, breathing the same air. And when I finally moved, it was fast. Desperate. Like the dam inside him cracked. He yanked me by my towel, hands gripping my face like he couldn't stop himself. Our mouths crashed. Hard. Hot. Not gentle. Not sweet. Hungry. I kissed him like I was angry. Like I wanted to punish him for walking away. Like I wanted to make him remember. He kissed me like he never forgot. His fingers twisted in my wet hair, tugging me closer. My hands slid under his shirt. Skin. Heat. Muscle. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Because words weren't enough anymore. Only this was. The kiss turned rougher. Then slower. Then something else entirely. Aching. Starving. Like we were trying to make up for every lost second. Like the water had never touched us in the way we had touched each other now. His forehead pressed against mine. Eyes closed. Both of us shaking. Still no words. Still none. And maybe that's what made it real. Because love isn't always spoken. Sometimes it's a breathless crash behind a locker door. Sometimes it's the way you fight. Not to say I love you. And sometimes it's the way someone who broke your heart shows up anyway. 3 days later, it started as a whisper, a notification. Then 2, then 37. By the time I opened my phone, the image had already gone viral. It wasn't a good photo. Blurry, dim, taken through a fogged window. Like the lens had trembled with the weight of what it was catching. But the angle. Coach's hand on my lower back, my bare skin, my body leaning into his. Close. Too close. It wasn't damning by content. It was damning by feeling. You couldn't feel the heat between us in that frame. The hush, the pull. I guess we never really were alone? Maybe someone from the debate team saw us leaving practice together. Or maybe it was just gossip at first, until someone got a photo to match the whispers. By the time practice ended, the silence in the locker room had changed. Eyes darted, whispers swirled. I couldn't tell who knew and who only suspected, but it didn't matter. They all saw me differently now. By evening, the headlines had taken over Twitter. Coach, student, inappropriate behavior allegations at Southport High. Underage swimmer. Elite coach leaked photos sparks outrage. Everyone kept calling me underage on the news, even though my last birthday was months ago. But maybe when you're 18 and he's 26, and he's your coach, people can't see you're an adult, no matter what your birth certificate says. At first, comments were all fire and brimstone. Predator! Lock him up! Victim! But after a few days, the post got messier. Split. He's 18, let them be. It's not illegal, just complicated. I leaned in. I learned there's no winning in the comment section, only noise. The school's inbox was swamped. For every angry parent demanding blood, there was another defending me. I guess people pick the side that fits their fears best. The school released a statement before I got home. Coach was put on administrative leave, pending further investigation. I sat on my bed, staring at the screen until I dimmed. I sat on my bed, staring at the screen until it dimmed, then blacked out. Like I could disappear too. I called him, texted, even left a voicemail I couldn't bear to reply. Nothing. No reply, just silence. And in that silence, something dark slipped in. Was it even real? Was this love? Or was I just convenient? 3 days later, the house stayed dark for 3 days. I didn't open the curtains, didn't answer the door. I ignored the knocks and texts and buzzing calls. I didn't eat much. I didn't sleep. My brain was a loop. His mouth on mine. His hands. The way he said, "This has to stop." The way he touched me anyway. The way I let him. I felt sick. Not because of the truth, but because of how much I still wanted it. Because even as the shame bloomed in my chest like bruises, I replayed that locker room kiss over and over. Hands shaking under the sheets at night. Breath stuttering from the guilt and the want and grief. All braided. I was 18. He was my coach. They were all calling me a victim, and I didn't know how to feel about that. Was I? Had I been? He never forced me, never pushed, but he didn't stop either. He should have, but I didn't want him to. And maybe that was the worst kind of lie, or it made me a kid who'd fallen too deep, too fast, into something I didn't understand. I threw my phone across the room. It didn't break. I did. 2 days later, it was almost midnight. The street outside was still just hum of distant cars, the hiss of sprinklers somewhere. I heard the knock. 3 soft taps. I knew instantly. I opened the door without thinking. He stood there in a hoodie, hair messy, dark circles under his eyes, looking like a ghost who once barked drills at me across the chlorinated tile. I didn't say anything. He stepped in. We sat on the couch, not touching, not breathing too loud. Just there. It took 5 minutes before he spoke. I didn't plan it, he said, voice hollow. That first kiss, it wasn't some long game. I didn't groom you. I didn't... mean to cross that line. I stared at him. My heart wanted to run. My legs didn't move. But I hadn't stopped thinking about you since that night. He whispered. Since the pool? He looked up. Since before. You knew it was wrong. I hated how wrong it was, he said. I left the room so many times. I convinced myself that it was just admiration. That I was just proud of you. That I was... He choked. Being a good coach. You weren't, I said. Silence. Then... But you saw me, I added. Didn't you? He nodded just once. I didn't feel like prey, I said quietly. Not once. Not ever. You weren't, he said, his voice broke. You were a flame, and I burned for you, willingly. My throat closed, and at that moment I saw it. He wasn't a predator in his own story. He wasn't proud, he wasn't smug. He was a wreck by his own hunger, his own guilt, his own need. I wasn't convenient. I was cataclysmic. And maybe we'd still never be okay. Maybe we were still impossible. But I knew now. I was never just a mistake. I was the match, and he struck himself on me. Just to feel something that bright. The next morning was cruel. I hadn't slept. Neither had he. We sat on the edge of the bed, watching the light change from indigo to grey. His fingers brushed mine once. We didn't hold on. Not yet. At noon, the school board called. They weren't gentle. We'd like to avoid a public scandal, Matthew. You resign now. We keep things clean. Quiet. Everyone walks away with dignity. And if I don't, he asked, voice hoarse. We press charges. We push for his removal from the swim team. We make an example. I heard every word from across the kitchen table. But here's the thing. I wasn't a minor. We hadn't had sex. We hadn't spoken about anything physical before that kiss. There was no coercion. No secret plan. Just desire. Confusing, inconvenient, overwhelming desire. That we both tried again and again not to act on. But people didn't want nuance. They wanted someone to burn. When we hung up, he didn't even look at me. Just ran a hand through his hair and whispered, I'll do it. I'll resign. You're not guilty, I said. That doesn't matter. It matters to me. I was trembling. He stood up, kissed my forehead like it was a goodbye, and walked out. That night, I posted a video. No PR, no script, just me. Face bare, voice shaking, but eyes locked on the lens. I know why people are angry. I get it. It looks bad. But I need you to hear it from me. And not from a headline. I wasn't groomed. I wasn't manipulated, and I wasn't a victim. I kissed him first. I touched him first. I wanted him first. He told me to stop. I didn't want to. And I still don't. I let the silence hang. My breath caught. But I kept going. Desire isn't always clean. It doesn't always wait for permission or care about rules. It's messy. It confuses you. And sometimes, it makes you grow up faster than you're meant to. But don't call me a victim just because I'm young. I loved him. I love him. I ended the video with one final thing. You can call it inappropriate. Fine. But do not call it a crime. Because the only thing he's guilty of is loving me back. The school went silent the next day. No email, no comment. But the world was loud. My post got 10 million views in 3 days. Some called me brave. Others called me delusional. Dirty, a disgrace. But what mattered, what truly mattered, was what I saw in the mirror. Myself, clearer than ever. I wasn't confused. Coach's resignation was accepted. No charges were filed. He lost his job, his license. But not his name. Not completely. And he refused to let me shoulder the blame. He went online too. He only said 4 words. He told the truth. A school posted a new announcement. After careful review of the facts of both parties' statements, The board has concluded that while professional boundaries were crossed, no law was broken. Coach Matthews' resignation will stand, and the matter is now considered closed. We didn't talk after that, not for a long time. Started coaching private lessons anonymously in another city. I heard he took up lifeguarding, had some sleepy beach town for a while. I stayed, I trained, harder than ever. I wasn't trying to swim anymore. I was trying to survive the weight of the world that wanted to see me drown. But a strange thing happened. The noise faded. People moved on. The whispers softened. And one day, my new coach, said quietly after practice, "Whatever happened back then, it made you one hell of a swimmer." I didn't reply, but I knew he was right, because grief makes you sink, but love, ever-lost love, it teaches you how to move. 1 year later, Nationals. The arena is loud, thousands cheering, cameras flashing. The smell of chlorine thickened the air. I stand behind the starting block, chest rising, eyes locked on the water like it's my whole life. I wasn't supposed to make it this far. Not after everything. Not after the scandal, the media circus, the broken reputation. But here I am. Underdog turned golden boy. And when the buzzer goes off, I dive in like I was born in the element. Every kick, every turn, every breath feels like home. I win. By less than half a second. But I win! And the whole place erupts. The medal goes around my neck, but I don't hear the anthem. I don't hear anything, because my eyes are scanning the stands, row by row. And then there, far in the back, wearing a plain sweatshirt, eyes shimmering, he's clapping, slowly, quietly, but with every bit of pride in the world. Matthew, not coach. Still Matthew. I slipped out after the ceremony, heart pounding. He's waiting by the gate, hands in his pockets. He hadn't aged a day. Or maybe he has. But he's beautiful. In that real, tired human way. "You are really incredible," he says softly. "You came." "I had to. I missed." He swallows. "You." I walk straight into him. He stumbles back a step, but I didn't let him go. I pressed my mouth to his like I never learned how to stop. People walked past us, cameras flashing again. But this time, no one says a word. No one tells us to stop. We break apart, breathless, grinning. Breathless, grinning. And I whisper, "You taught me how to breathe underwater. But you also taught me how to drown in you." He pulls me closer. "Then let's stop swimming away." And for once, there's no fear in me. Only light. Only us. The end. Do you think the coach crossed the line? Or was Sebastian in control all along? And if both of them wanted it, does that change how we judge it? Thank you for watching. Subscribe to become a part of our Rainbow Force. And consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. And stay wholesome.